Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. This is the daily news. We go over some headlines. I share my thoughts and get yours as well. So let's just jump right in. Who is buying all the Bitcoin? What is going on here, guys? It is up over 30,000. It was funny because we have people in the channel saying that the top was 28, these kind of things. So they're definitely wrong. I was definitely wrong. And I'm curious, where do we go from here? Is now 30,000 sort of the psychological better top, or is this going to be the new, level, the bottom, etc.? Please type in the comments where you think Bitcoin's going to go by the end of the year. It has been pretty crazy. If you haven't seen this video, I made this, a day ago already. This is about my crypto offering. I think you're going to like the video. Please check it out. If you're into crypto, you'll hear some of my thoughts about the overall market of that. But it is real. Crypto's above 30 today. It's at 81% up year to date, which is probably one of the best trades this year. I did not call this one at all. So basically, if you bought a whole bunch of crypto at like 16, I think it's probably around the bottom of the last few months. I'd love to hear about it. If anyone's brave enough to do that, you've been doing quite well. I mean, that's just honestly that's the trade. However, you're still down on the year, 23%, and also too, if you bought at the top, which I think was around 65 or something like that, you're still down half your money. So let's also be real on there. So crypto, yes, is having quite a rally, but is still down from its all-time highs. However, which is something really interesting, is the dollar is also up. So crypto is up and the dollar is up. And, it's funny because I think both sides are essentially wrong here, because there's some people that say, crypto to zero, go with dollar. And other people say dollar to zero, go with crypto, but they're both up. So I guess the answer is go with both, right? But anyway, yeah, the dollar's strong. And I want to show you guys this chart. This is actually, you can take a look at the numbers for yourself. Around 2000, the dollar was doing pretty well. The Fed basically started printing and people didn't have so much faith in the dollar. You guys can see right there, around 2008, 2009. And now we're coming back up again. Essentially, quantitative easing was essentially the name of the game, right? And now we're in quantitative tightening, taking dollars out of the market and essentially tightening. Now, however, one of the things I think is interesting is with the invent of the Fed now is what they're calling it, and the digital dollar, will that indeed mean that we're going to go back to essentially quantitative easing much sooner or faster than anyone had ever expected? At the moment, though, dollar is showing strength. I mean, you guys can see it for yourself. But you can make the case it goes in cycles, right? So are we going to essentially hit this 120 cycle here and go right back down? This is the high for the dollar was 114 recently, and that was like a couple months ago. I track this all the time. We're in Korea, so this matters quite a bit. I mean, you're looking at like 5% differential, which is it matters. I mean, compared to other things, you're not worried about. At least I'm not worried about the dollar going to zero. So any kind of movement that makes a big difference. But you guys can see this for yourself. The dollar's been on a big rally for quite a while. Watch the Treasury yields. We watch this stuff all the time. So as of recording, the 2 years above 4%, the 10 years at 3.44, and then you have the 3 months, say the short-term ones, hovering, getting right there near 5. I also have seen that a lot of savings accounts are like 3-4%, this kind of stuff. I'd love to hear where your guys' savings accounts are. What's the highest yields that you're getting on this? The reason why this matters is because you can just hold cash, put in a savings account, and you're making money by not doing anything. Yes, I get it. I really get it, right? So people say, well, Chris, cash is garbage because, of inflation, blah, blah, blah. What I always say is cash is managing risk, right? You're not worried about it going to zero. Yes, maybe, inflation is beating your interest, but hey, I'm fine sleeping well at night, having some cash, watching that savings account grow. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. And in fact, if the Fed doesn't keep raising rates, right, the interest rates on your savings accounts will go up as well. So keep an eye on these things. That's why I said I try to cover all of these things, and just want you guys thinking about always, there are always options to manage your money. The best option right now, and this is true, there's two, and I just want to mention since we're talking about it, is literally pay off your variable interest loans, because if interest rates are going up, yes, savings accounts are great, but if you have interest rates on, let's say, debt, not so great, right? So I want to make that really clear. And the other one is make sure you're secure in your job. So I always meant that stuff all the time on this channel, but want to mention it again. The IMF, they're saying growth is going to be a little bit slower. It's not as horrible as the headline suggests. So basically the previous forecast was global growth 3.4%, then they cut it to 2.9. That was sort of the big headline. And then the headline today is we're going from 2.9% growth in the global to 2.8%. So it's not a crazy cut. The way that the headline's structured make it sound more scary than it is. But to be fair, though, they do say there are some warning signs ahead for the financial system, which I agree. I don't know if necessarily we have a solution because we're talking about not just the USA, but also what's happening in Europe. And then as well as it does affect people in Asia because money flows all around the world. Money doesn't sleep, money doesn't have borders, and you can make the case neither does Bitcoin and crypto. So money does fly around everywhere. Just ask Tim Cook. He's trying to open up, I guess they're going to be their first Apple stores in India. My understanding of it, and this is sort of my, I guess, prediction / understanding, is, many companies are trying to get out of China. There's just too much political problems there. Plus, this is also a big one. Regardless of political problems, wages in China have been going up, meaning that you have to pay Chinese workers more money, which eats into your bottom line. So, of course, you're going to go somewhere else, right? And the two places that I keep saying, I think India and Vietnam. I'm a little bit more partial to Vietnam, but you guys may not know I'm from Vietnam. And in fact, if you want to hear my story, you can, see some links and stuff. There's been a lot of family things going on in my life recently. I'm still working on my family project. I'm trying to get the trailer released as soon as possible. If you guys don't know, just you'll find the links. It's a crazy story, and it's even crazy to me, even though it's my story. But anyway, I think Vietnam and India is where there's going to be growth, and Tim Cook is going for India right now. So they're going to be trying to make more phones there, or sell more phones there, basically. Now this is interesting too because it corresponds to the India story. So they're saying car price cuts in China are intensifying, and that's bad news. So basically, we we talked about the whole Tesla thing cutting prices, but it's not just Tesla. They're talking about in China. They say all the brands are cutting. So this would be essentially, you could look at one or two ways. So one is you could look at the slowing demand. The other way you could look at it too is that there's this not just China, but like overall, people don't necessarily buy so many cars. Something that I and to share with you guys, for example, I grew up in Oregon. When I moved to New York, you could take transit everywhere. And I'm just like, you know what? Have you seen those parking situations in New York? I'm not paying, $20, $40 for parking, that kind of thing. And this is a long, many years ago for when I first moved to New York out of Oregon. And I quit driving, basically, just quit driving. And there's just, these days, if you live in a big city and now with Uber and stuff like that, I think the demand for cars overall will be going down. So not just China, not just 1 year. I think the overall trend, that's just my sort of opinion now, looking at numbers that I've seen in the past, and also to knowing people's lifestyles and also work from home. It's not hard to see. So you have essentially price cuts of all the major brands, Toyota, Mazda, Buick, etc. So it's not just Tesla. I want to point that out. Also going on too, there's been this crazy story about some classified documents leaked from the Pentagon. They're on social media. If I had to bet, it's probably Chinese spies or Russian spies. I'm sure. I have no idea that are leaking the documents. It could be internal. It totally could be as well. It totally could be. You never know. It could be a leak from the inside the U.S. We may or not find out, soon what it's going to be. They're leaking documents about what's going on in Ukraine, that kind of stuff. This story, though, I saw it before. I didn't mention it. But this one, I couldn't avoid it. It was on our Korean news. If you guys don't know, I live here in Korea. But now I guess the Seoul is unhappy. So the current president of Korea is like pretty ticked off. The opposition party in Korea is like saying bad things about the current one, like, why are you letting America spy on us? That kind of stuff. That's sort of what's up with that. It's basically on the gist of the U.S. is trying to get Korea to send weapons to Ukraine, sell weapons, etc. So it's nothing like shocking. I'm not shocked that whether or not the countries spying each other. It's like, oh my God, I'm so surprised. I would be shocked at that kind of stuff. And this sort of goes back to the Russia or China thing, because if you are, say China, you do not want the Americans and Koreans to be friends, right? You don't want that. And for those of you guys know, I mean, many people watch this channel have served in Korea because they're American military bases here. And so you guys know this is that they're allies, or we're allies, as British say. We're all allies. I hope so, except for obviously China and Russia don't want them to be allies. So I think these kind of tests, what you see in the headlines, it's to weaken our relationship. But yes, I wouldn't be shocked if there's intel going around from all countries spying each other. I don't think that's anything new. This is something that, in my opinion, I just don't think so. This is something that's an interesting one. There was a headline saying that, and it's not a done deal, but that Warren Buffett was looking to invest more in Japan. And so even Warren Buffett's like, we should invest in our allies. And it's something I've said all along. My opinion on this one is that U.S. should pull away from China more and try to ally more with our solid allies of Japan and Korea, and trying to make more friends with like a Vietnam or India. I mean, it's just more friends is better than lots of enemies. So strengthen your friends. India and Vietnam are a little bit more different than say Korea or Japan, because Korea and Japan are modern economies. You can rely on them much more. Vietnam and India need to work to build relationships better. It's just sharing with you guys my thoughts on this. But Warren Buffett's putting money in Japan basically is the lesson you want to get out of this one. There's a big story here, which I thought was a really, really interesting one. I'll read the headlines to you guys. Houston apartment owner loses 3,200 units to foreclosure as multifamily feels the heat. I want to read the details of this one because I said like this one is a really interesting one. So there's this person. It was I guess it was Apple's investment group. I guess that's a person. They say it's an investment investor here. But there's what is this? 4 Houston complexes, 230 million, 3,200 units. But I guess they just aren't bringing in the money. That's basically what it is. You borrowed a bunch of money. You can't pay it back because you're not renting out your places. And I highlight this story because we're experiencing a slowdown in commercial and also multifamily. We talked about this. My opinion on sort of what the trends are. People, working from home, one is one. People are also, looking for the cheapest thing possible. People are moving in with family members. People just don't have enough money. And also, too, people maybe bought too low and they're trying to, be renting out all these things, thinking they're going to make a bunch of cash. And this reminds me of a, channel I don't like, the Me Kevin person. He's probably going to do this kind of stuff of where you get this colossal headline that he, way over leveraged himself on, buying 10 buildings, couldn't rent them out, and tries to say sorry to all his fans, and then asks his fans to forgive him, and then he starts drinking again. So that's my prediction on that. But I do think this is an interesting headline, though, that this is happening to some of this big money. And I also want to caution you as well. Sometimes people say, well, Chris, I was doing X because big money was doing X. And I want to caution you on these things is that, risk management matters, because sometimes, this big money, they screw up too, right? You can see this person, again, it's like $230 million or something like that. So that's quite a lot of money to borrow to do this stuff, and it didn't work out. So clearly, people make mistakes as well. So this is why you need to, how can I say, just always manage your risk. It's the best way to say it. Walmart, talking about managing risk and stuff like that, they're putting more money into warehouse robots. I have said this over and over and over again on this channel, and I mentioned to you again, is some of these changes are happening in the world, be it AI, be it robots taking your jobs, these kind of things. And so you can do one of two things. One, you can complain that the robots are going to take your jobs, or two, you can retrain and learn to fix the robots, learn to design the robots, learn to, program the robots. And this is something that I want to share with you. It's very important. You always, 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 always need to be upgrading your skills every single year. And this is something that I've done throughout my entire career, is I'm always learning something new, trying to keep up to date. This is why I do the news with you guys every day. It's just to keep you abreast of what's happening in the world, to see where those opportunities are. And so if I'm looking around of where's the opportunity, I promise you, all this AI stuff, this robot stuff, automation stuff, it's not going away. So I think, you got to see it coming. And then again, that's where there's the opportunity. There's going to be a ton of opportunity in drone repair, drone fixing, robot servicing, all these kind of things, like these kind of jobs. So just look where there's opportunity, learn the skills that are going to be needed in the future, and you're going to do great. I would recommend also too, if you guys haven't seen this, a lot of people haven't seen this, I'd recommend older videos because I want you guys to see some ones that are oldies but goodies. This is about robot AI in Korea, and I think you'll find it really fascinating. We are going way more automation here in Korea than they are in USA, but they're slowly catching up. So just watch it and you'll see sort of what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's the daily news. Love to hear your thoughts on any one of these stories. Appreciate watching, and I'll catch you next time.